Now the panel's going to talk about taxes. John, I want to start with you. There's some people who believe that there's no such thing as a good tax. All taxes are bad. Are there taxes, some different kinds of taxes that are more helpful to the economy than others?
Well, look, I think whether you're left-wing or right-wing, or in the centre, whether you're NDP or Conservative or Liberal, you have to start from the assumption all taxes are bad. You work hard, you get home, you have your paycheck, the government comes and it takes some of that paycheck away from you. That's bad. Your employer wants to invest in new equipment, hire more people, give them a raise, but they can't. Why? Because the government came, took those taxes away from the corporation. So all taxes are bad. Now, what taxes are least bad? Because you do want schools, you do want hospitals, you do want to invest in roads and sewers and police. You do need an army to defend your country overseas. That requires taxes. So what taxes are the least worst taxes a government can impose? And again, because I'm a journalist and I have to try to look at it on all sides, I think you look for a balance. You can't tax corporations too much. They go out of business. They don't hire. Europe is in a terrible state right now because of their high corporate tax rates, among other things. You can't tax too low. You could be like the United States with millions upon millions of people who get no education at all, who with a crumbling infrastructure, with all sorts of economic challenges. So whether you're a provincial government or you're a federal government, you have to look and you say, well, I'm going to have to tax people this much. I'm sorry, folks, I need to take that money from you, but I don't want to take $1 more than I have to. Corporations, sorry, got to take some taxes from you, but I don't want to take $1 more than I have to. People who own houses, we're going to have to tax your property because we need that money too for roads and parks and everything else. But that finance minister has to work from the assumption, left wing, right wing, or center, that he or she should not be taxing $1 more than he or she must.
Kathleen, you want to take a opposing view on this thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that, I know all due respect to John, but I think that it's really simplistic the way you're saying that all taxes are bad. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I put my garbage on the curb, and I'm really happy that someone in my municipality comes away and takes it away so I don't have to deal with it. I'm also happy that when I send my kid to school, to kindergarten, that there are books in the school for him to read. And there are a library that I can borrow books from, and I can participate in my community pool. These are all things that your taxes provide. The fact that I can walk into a hospital and I can get treatment for a broken arm is because we all pay taxes. And I actually do believe it is important that those who make a little bit more than others help out. That's the whole idea. This is a community, this is this country, this is a vision of Canada where we live together and we help one another out. And that's what taxes do. They help to equalize the market benefits. I'm sure my colleagues are going to jump in. But I fundamentally want to disagree with the idea that all taxes are bad. No, taxes help us ride the public transportation. They do things that people need to get by.
I don't think I'm going to sing kumbaya about taxes with you, but I think we have to look at this in another way too, that taxes can stymie investment. They can inhibit job growth and opportunity occurring. And if they're not comparative to what is offered in other jurisdictions, it may mean people will not come here. Investment business will not come here. So I think we have to be realistic. Yes, we get some benefit from taxation, true, but I think the taxation has to be as minimal as possible and the resources gained effectively distributed as possible.
About Canada having a lower corporate tax rate currently than the U.S. We are already lower, and that's why we have the ability. And we should keep it low
because we're competing, and that's the important thing to understand about tax policy. It isn't just about what happens in Canada. It's about what happens globally. In the world.
I want to bring Scott in here. Are there any such things as good taxes?
Of course there are. I mean, look, the issue is how much do you pay and what do you get for it, right? Mm-hmm. It's no different than if I go to the Gap and I buy something. Well, maybe $100 is a lot for jeans, unless I really want those jeans. You know what? I really want healthcare, so I'm going to pay some taxes to get that. What's bad? High taxes. Mm-hmm. High taxes generally are bad. Now, there's a pile of different ways government taxes people. Right? They have what they call consumption tax. That's the GST, the HST. You go in, you buy a cup of coffee, you got to tick in 13 cents on the dollar to pay for that. That's actually a good tax.
Why?
Because that generates a lot of revenue. It picks up off of all these little purchases, right? And it's not as hard on people. If you want to buy a really expensive race car, fill your boots and you're going to pay a higher amount of tax.
But the only people who can do that are people with a lot of money anyway.
That's right.
Consumption
So
reflects.
to me, I think you have to take a look at the income taxes. Those are the things that hit everybody across the board, right? And overall, what you want to be doing is trying to lower those income taxes as much as possible, particularly on the middle class, on middle income earners, so that people have a little bit more breathing space. The other issue, very quickly, it's about when, right? Right now, for example, tax a bad thing. Tough to tax people. We're struggling to get by. I got to pay more for the services I get. My school says that they're no longer going to pay for the books.
What would that look like? What would be a bad thing that you would tax?
Well, right now, if you were to raise, for example, you were to raise the HST, it would be bad. As a matter of theory, it might make sense because it generates more revenue. That's a good idea. But it's a bad idea right now because families are so struggling to get by. Right? So I would raise taxes like the GST in times of plenty, not in times of need. That's the challenge and the trick of being a finance minister. It's not just which taxes to raise, but when or when to drop those taxes.